Ladies and gentlemen, drivers, gig workers, and everyone in between, welcome to This Week in Rideshare podcast. I'm your host, Jared Hoffa. It is Friday, May 9th, and this week, Chicago investigates Uber, it's bots versus humans, and Tesla hits a roadblock. Legal Rideshare breaks it down. And from Legal Rideshare, I'm joined by the co-founder and lead attorney, Bryant Greening. Bryant, happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Jared. Great to be back for yet another edition of This Week in Rideshare.
Yet another edition. A week after week, we tell you guys the stories, and you guys listen and chime in, which we love. And you know what's amazing about this show? Every week, there's always something. Not one story, not two, but at least three that are completely crazy. I love it.
Oh, it's been going on for years. Every
years.
week for years, there's mayhem. So we're here to break it down. We're here to talk about it, and let's go.
There really is. And speaking of which of mayhem and questions, remember, guys, we are doing a new thing called Ask Us Anything. So if you want to chime in live about the stories, or ask questions about the stories, or ask questions about us, it doesn't matter. As long as it's not too insane, we will answer it. You can also, even if you're watching this later on a recording, you can ask on our YouTube or Facebook, and we will respond on the next show. So keep that in mind. Ask us anything. We are here. So that being said, we're going to jump into our first story. We talked about this last week. It, of course, has developments. We thought this was going to happen. Chicago is investigating Uber, and this is from Block Club Chicago. And they reported, quote, the city has opened an investigation into Uber after Block Club Chicago reported the company overcharged riders the city's congestion surcharge for months. The city's Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection received a complaint for, quote, ride-hail overcharges in early April and have now opened an investigation. The spokesperson did not provide further details. An Uber spokesperson said that the internal error started in January, right after the city expanded the congestion surcharge to include weekends as a budget balancing measure. Uber has paid the city the total sum of the charges, they said. But Uber has yet to answer Block Club's follow-up questions about how the refunds will be sent or how much in total was wrongly taken from customers. Brian, we literally talked about this last week. We knew it was going to develop. Here's the development.
Yep. No, it's crazy. And, this alderman who was talking about it, I really agree with what he's saying. He says this doesn't just happen. The fact that this went on for so long is unacceptable. And that's really the issue. Like, mistakes happen. I can understand if there was a day where Uber was overcharging and those refunds get issued, and that kind of stuff happens when there's changes in regulations. But the fact that we're talking about months of overcharging where customers are, without any knowledge, paying this extra fee that's just ringing up, and Uber's taking in what I have to assume would be hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, given how many rides there are. There has to be accountability, and their accounting department, the people who handle their compliance with regulation, they need to just step in immediately. And this is either gross negligence or just willful theft. I mean, frankly, like how can you say that you're not aware of the fact that all this extra money is coming in and not do anything about it? So I'm with the alderman. This is just highlighting a symptom of things that are wrong with rideshare, things that are wrong with government, and how they allowed Uber and Lyft to come in and kind of make the rules from the beginning and are still trying to figure how to clean up that mess. So hopefully this opens up a lot of eyes. People understand that these companies need to be watched. They need to be closely regulated. And I hope all these people that paid this extra money get their refunds, and Uber should pay a fine on top of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that really caught my eye on the article specifically, and we talked about it last week about, hey, this got discovered. But Uber is saying that the internal error started in January. So that means the moment that this passed, it was already broken. And so and it took until, it says the city departments of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection received it in April. So 3 months passed, until someone realized, hey, wait a minute, I'm getting overcharged for this. And I think that's one of the reasons why, in the article it says Uber has yet to respond to Block Club. Because I'm sure it's going to be one of the questions they ask. This happened in the beginning. No one said anything until, Ryder said something in April. What happened?
Right. And
Wild stuff.
it took a customer. It
Yeah.
wasn't the company who came in and said, "Hey guys, sorry, we made a mistake. We're coming in with our tail between our legs. It was our fault." This could have gone on for years.
Yep.
It took a customer really analyzing their receipt and figuring out, oh, well, this was not appropriate because this charge only should have been applied during certain time periods. Like that is not the customer's job. This needs to be handled by the rideshare companies. This needs to be overseen by the government. This is just an epic failure, and it needs to be made right.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Again, I'm sure we'll probably have another article about this next week or at some point soon because who knows where else this is happening. So we at least know it's happening here. Moving on to our second story today. Interesting one and a shocking one, at least as far as I'm concerned. Robotaxis are outpacing human drivers. This is from Business Insider, and they reported Uber passengers in Austin seemingly can't get enough of Waymo's robotaxis. With the 100 or so Waymo vehicles operating on the Uber app are already busier than the human drivers that they share the road with. These approximately 100 vehicles are now busier than over 99% of all drivers in Austin in terms of completed trips per day. The CEO of Uber said as as he prepared remarks after Uber announced its first quarter earnings on Wednesday. He said the two companies plan to scale their autonomous fleet in Austin to hundreds of Waymos in the coming months ahead of the launch of Waymo's robotaxis on the Uber app in Atlanta later this year. It also says in the article, thanks to the hands-off regulation, Austin has become a hotspot for autonomous vehicles. In March, Uber began offering Waymo vehicles exclusively on its app for the first time in the city. I personally just did a small video segment about this on our social media platforms about is robotaxis here, are they not? Bryant, you and I have discussed this on the show with guests. Are they here? Are they not? It seems like A, they're here, and B, at least in Austin, people aren't afraid to use them.
Yeah, that's what this is telling us is that they are here and they're probably here to stay. We've talked before about the safety issues. We've talked about the technology perhaps not being ready. That really doesn't matter. I mean, it matters from a safety perspective, and obviously we want these to be as safe as possible. But from the marketplace, they are on the streets. They are being hailed by customers, and customers, at least like you said in Austin, are not hesitant at all to get in them. So if this is any indication as to what robo-taxis are going to look like going forward nationwide, people seem to be fine with the fact that the technology is a work in progress. People seem to be fine with the fact that we've seen articles of and videos of these cars losing control or taking people on joyrides, for lack of a better word. This is how people are getting around. This is the future. The 99, the statistic that they're busier than 99% of the drivers, that tells me two things. One, it tells me the demand is there. And two, it also shows that these vehicles can be working round the clock. There's not any limitations on how long they can drive. Certain cities, for instance, Chicago, you can't drive more than a certain number of hours per day. That doesn't apply to an autonomous vehicle. The drivers are not going to be fatigued. They don't have to worry about regulations with toggling between apps. Like those cars can just go, and they can go 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. And I think that's what makes the company so excited about this prospect, is that they can be making money all the time. And now that we see the demand is there for them, they're going to be making a lot of it.
Yeah, that you kind of took the words out of my mouth. There's a fine line between what he said, and you nailed it. He says these approximately 100 vehicles are now busier than over 99% of all drivers. But what he's basically saying behind the scenes is there's no cancellation rate, right? The autonomous vehicles aren't going to cancel because the fare is low. They're just going to go and go, like you said. They're not going to take breaks. And I'm sure he's giddy about this, that it's showing that, look, we can keep dumping these things out and they're going to do it. The interesting thing about Austin, though, is it seems like it could be a recipe for disaster because Austin is really hands off. I think even more than San Francisco or some of the other areas. I don't know how Atlanta's going to be, but Austin is a sort of like, it seems like they're saying, do what you want. But as we know, like once, it's one thing when you have Waymo, which is just one autonomous system. What happens when you start having different autonomous systems like the Cybercab that aren't using the same systems? Like how are they going to work, how are they going to manage the roads together? And if Austin is really hands off, that could end up being, a collision course.
Literally.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
I think what's interesting about that is Austin, in a lot of ways, may dictate the future of robotaxis. So if this is a success there, if we see nationwide that Austin worked, I think other areas are going to be more.
Brian, I think you cut out there. I think we had a bit of a freeze, but yeah, this is what we're talking about. This is literally what it's going to be. This is the deal. And we're going to head to our final story as while Brian gets reconnected to the show. And we talked about this last time, but Tesla's trademark gets stopped, and there's an interesting reason we're talking about this. And this is from TechCrunch, and they reported, quote, Tesla's attempt to trademark the term Robotaxi in reference to its vehicles has been refused by the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office for being too generic, according to a new filing. Another application by Tesla to trademark the term Robotaxi for its upcoming ride-hailing service is still under examination by the office. In addition, the applications from Tesla for the trademark on the term Cybercab have been halted due to the other companies pursuing similar cyber, as they say, trademarks. That includes one company that has applied for numerous trademarks related to aftermarket Cybertruck accessories. Tesla will be allowed to submit evidence and arguments to support its argument in favor of the trademark. If it does, the USPTO wants Tesla to provide, quote, fact sheets, instruction manuals, brochures, advertisements, and pertinent screenshots on their website as it relates. So for those who are watching, the reason that we were interested in talking about this story is less about the trademark itself, but more about what this is going to look like for user habits, consumers. It's clear that the USPTO is saying robotaxi is going to be the term. It's going to be synonymous the way rideshare was. And so it's interesting if Tesla's trying to corner that, but it doesn't seem like they're gonna. It seems like the government's stepping in and saying, no, this is going to be the phrase. This is going to be what you say. Instead of hailing a rideshare, you're hailing a robotaxi. So that is the stories for us this week. Again, if you have just logged in here, if you don't know what we do, LegalRideshare is the first firm in the U.S. focused exclusively on handling Uber and Lyft accidents and injuries, whether you're a rider or passenger. We are here. The easiest way to reach us is LegalRideshare.com. We are also very active on all the social platforms. If you have any questions, any concerns, accident, big or small, we are here to help. We are here to assist. So we really appreciate it. And as I like to say, that is the end of this week in Rideshare. See you next week.